Started here. And just a couple of notes before we do begin. We are recording this session so that we can make it available to folks after we conclude today. There is also going to be opportunities today to ask questions, and you can do that in multiple ways. Throughout the presentation, you can feel free to use the Q&A feature in Zoom to write your questions, then we can answer them live. We will also, at the conclusion of our presentation portion, we'll be opening it up to questions, which we will either take, you can unmute and ask questions, raise your virtual hand, or again, put it in the Q&A box. All right, well, I would like to welcome everyone today to the Virginia Humanities at UVA Wise Grants Program Q&A session for the applications that are currently open and accepting submissions. My name is Adam Corville. I'm the Director of Grants and Fellowships at Virginia Humanities. And I'm joined here today by Katie Wassinger and Ginny Turman, and I will let them introduce themselves, and I'll start with Katie.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Katie Wassinger. I work with Adam at Virginia Humanities in the Grants and Fellowships program. So I'll be your kind of point of contact for technical grant questions. And I'll turn it to Jenny.
Hi everyone, Jenny Turman, Associate Professor of History at UVA Wise, also a co-director for the Center for Appalachian Studies and the coordinator for this new initiative between Virginia Humanities and Wise. So pleased to see you all. We have a good turnout.
Great, thank you. Now, before we dive into the grant program that we're here to discuss, I want to give you just a brief overview of what Virginia Humanities is. So Virginia Humanities is our state's humanities council. We were founded in 1974 with seed funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities. We offer a diverse array of programs that are aimed at exploring and sharing Virginia's rich cultural heritage. Key initiatives that Virginia Humanities has include books and literature programs. We have the Virginia Center for the Book based in Charlottesville, where our main offices are located, which has programs that unite readers, writers, artists, and book lovers throughout the year with events and partnership initiatives, recognizing the enduring power of literature and storytelling to engage Virginians in public dialogue and promote intercultural understanding. We also host the Virginia Festival of the Book, which is an annual event that brings together authors and readers to celebrate books, reading, and literacy. We have an Education and Community Initiatives program, which provides resources for educators. We also have Encyclopedia Virginia, a free, reliable multimedia resource that tells the inclusive story of Virginia, serving as a valuable tool for students, teachers, and communities seeking to understand how the past informs the present and future. We also have the Virginia Folklife program, which is dedicated to the documentation, presentation, and support of Virginia's rich cultural heritage, focusing on the arts of everyday life that reflect traditional knowledge and community connections. In addition, we produce With Good Reason, which is a radio show and podcast that brings together experts from Virginia's higher education institutions for lively conversations, making scholarly research accessible to everyone. And lastly, the program that we represent here is grants as well as fellowships. Since 1974, we've awarded more than 4,000 grants and 400 fellowships to support projects that help Virginians better understand their history, culture, and each other. Now, as I said before, we are located in Charlottesville, Virginia, as part of the University of Virginia. And while our programs do reach statewide, one of the things we're excited to talk about here and introduce is our newest regional humanities center, which is located at UVA Wise and is going to have this dedicated grant program specific to this region. And so I would like to turn it over to Ginny now, who's going to talk a little bit about her role here at Wise and the Regional Humanities Center.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. And again, just welcome all of you who have just recently joined. So, as Adam said, I am the new coordinator for this center. The center was dedicated last December, so it is brand new. On December 2nd, we held a kickoff for this new initiative. And so it is established in partnership with UVA Wise and also with the Center for Appalachian Studies. While I wasn't privy to all of the initial conversations about organizing this new center, I was pleased to learn over the summer that it was in the works and that Center for Appalachian Studies was going to play a role in hosting the Virginia Humanities Division here. So it just makes sense. Given the Center for Appalachian Studies' own interest in representing the region and getting students involved in the region. So it's just a really nice partnership and match here. So you can see on the screen the program that we've set up is going to allow up to $5,000 to go out to community nonprofit organizations, anybody who is doing projects and work in the humanities. So that can include oral histories, exhibit development, speakers, interpreters, even project planning, things like that, that we're looking forward to being able to fund. And I don't think I've talked about this much before, but hopefully we all have the support and the groundwork here to make this grant proposal process as easy as possible. I have been in all of your shoes before in some capacity. I've written a number of rapid grant proposals to humanities and arts councils over the years. So I'm really excited to get to be on the other side of this and facilitate your programs for you. I guess the last thing I want to say is I do see a couple of, we were putting together an advisory board to help review the grants. And I just want to acknowledge Tanya Gully and Allison Linder, who are with us. They are going to be serving on the advisory board with me. So I think that's all I have, though. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jenny. And so now I'm going to dive into kind of the grant program itself and what these grants look like. As I go into this, I am going to put up a quick poll here. I am just curious of those that are in attendance today, who's actually applied for a Virginia Humanities grant before? Okay, great. So thank you for submitting your answers. Does this one count? Great question. Sure, this one can count for now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll here. All right, so at least 50% of you have never applied for a Virginia Humanities grant. And that's one of the reasons why we are launching this initiative, is because we do really want to reach out, especially build relationships and work with communities who we've yet to really engage with in our grant making work. So thank you for sharing that. And Katie, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to move to the next slide. All right, so Virginia Humanities, we do offer grants throughout the year. We have rapid grants, which are smaller grants, which we administer quarterly throughout the year, as well as our regular grant program, which happens twice a year in the summer and in the winter. The rapid grants are typically for awards up to $5,000, whereas our regular grants award up to $20,000. And this grant program, which the application is open now and is due April 30th, is designed to award up to $5,000 in grant funding. The decision will be in mid-June. And all of these grants are going to have the same budget period or project period of July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026. And this is going to be one of the things that really makes this grant program and grant cycle unique, is that we're going to be able to build this cohort of grantees who throughout the year we're anticipating that we're going to be able to engage in various ways to build community, to let our grantees really build relationships and network with each other throughout the year, as well as allowing Virginia Humanities to bring in opportunities to provide perhaps professional development or resources from the other programs that we offer as a Humanities Council. And so that's one of the things we're really excited about, this opportunity, this cohort, and having this 12-month project period for our grantees. Yes, Katie, thank you. Eligibility for this program, it is the same across all of our grant programs. So nonprofits, 501c3s, institutions of higher education, and then other nonprofits as designated by the IRS, as well as tribal nations recognized by the state of Virginia or the federal government. In terms of eligibility, what does make this unique is that it is specifically for the 9 counties defined by the UVA WISE Regional Humanities Center service area. And I'm going to drop those in the chat right now, just so you have that list at hand. All right, Katie, if we could move to the next one. And Ginny started to mention some of the different types of programs that these grants support. For example, exhibits, festivals, lecture series, media projects, podcasts, a whole variety of ways that you can engage the public in your humanities programming. And sometimes what's easier is to go through what we don't support, which is a shorter list, which includes advocacy, creative or performing arts, unless the project is being used in support, as the funds are being used as a supporting role to enhance discussion to performing or creative arts. And we can talk more about that. I know often there's a bit of confusion around that part. We also don't fund courses for credit, international travel, awards, gifts, alcoholic beverages, construction, restoration, renovation. So that's standard across all of our grant programs. And those are, some of the kind of the nuts and bolts about, the grants themselves. And what we wanted to do now, as Ginny mentioned as well, one of our goals is to make this application process somewhat streamlined, accessible. And so we're going to walk through the actual application briefly, and Katie's going to walk you through what that would look like online and what you can anticipate filling out.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump into the grant application real quick. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions before we get there? All right, well, then I'm going to run through this really quick, and then we'll have a bigger Q&A session at the end of the meeting. So if y'all have logged into the grants database before, this is what your homepage is going to look like. Probably seen this before. You'll see your organization's name here at the top, and then your name in the top right corner. You'll see any past grant applications you've submitted here in this column here, and then any currently that you have open in this column. This applicant has nothing open. And to access this new grant application for UVA WISE, what you're going to want to do is click this See Opportunities button in the top left corner here. And that's going to take you to all of our open grant applications. So you'll see all the different things you can apply for, but the one you're looking for here is the Virginia Humanities at UVA WISE grants. You'll click this Apply button, and then it's going to take you into the application itself. Now, some of your organizations will have this pop up if you have a profile on Candid, which pulls information from your tax documents. You'll have the opportunity to copy information over. So this applicant does, I'll have them copy over their total revenue and total expenses. But if you don't have one of these, nothing's going to pop up, and you'll be able to fill this information in manually down the line. So don't worry too much about this. It's just a nice feature if you happen to have the profile there. So I'll hit copy. And then this is what the application itself is going to look like for you. You're going to see your name as an applicant here, your contact information, and then your organization's information here, so who you're applying under. And then you're going to see a couple buttons here at the top. Like I said, you'll have this copy candid profile button. So if you have one of those profiles, you can copy information over. You're also going to see a collaborate button. This is really helpful if you're a large organization or you just have someone you want to work on this application with. You can fill in the person's email address, and then if you want them to be able to view it, just read through it for you. Edit any of the questions in the application, or even edit and then submit for you, so fully take it over. You'll just give them access based on one of these 3 buttons. Put their information here, and maybe write them a little note on why you're inviting them. Now the application itself is pretty straightforward once you're in it. You'll just scroll down and see a general overview of the application. And then there's an access point here for an applicant tutorial that was put together by the people who run this application. So if you have any questions about the nitty-gritty of how this application works, you can click this, or you can just contact me and ask any questions you have. In the intro, we're going to ask you to name your project, so the project that you're looking for funding for. You'll name right here your organization's mission statement. And then, like Adam was saying earlier, the thing that makes these grants unique is that they're in the UVA wise service area. So we're going to have you identify which of the counties your organization is located in here to make sure that you qualify for these grants. We're going to ask how much money you're requesting, and then to give us a concise summary of what this project is. Later in the application, you'll have an opportunity to give a larger narrative and give us all those details that you really want to give. But this is just 3 to 5 sentences for us to use if you become a grantee in the marketing materials or in explaining to people what this project is. So just a short summary here. This section is going to ask for NEH information. So National Endowment for Humanities asks for information on projects like exhibitions, oral histories, the kinds of things we're funding. These aren't going to affect the grading of your application. It's really just for us and reporting data. So you can click as many of these as you want. If you're an oral history project, a local history project, and a lecture, you can click all of them. The same thing is going to happen here. Any audiences that you're targeting. Specifically here, we're asking for veterans, Native Americans, seniors, and undergraduates. So you can click any and all of them there. All right, in this section, Adam mentioned earlier, the budget period for these projects is July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. So we're just gonna ask what date your project's gonna start. You fill that in here, and what day it's gonna end, and it needs to fall in these dates. And you can just click to go forward to say July 1, my project's gonna start, and maybe it's gonna end on July 11th. I have a really short project here. All right, in this section, we're going to ask for district information from you. So the Congressional, Virginia State Senate, and Virginia House District that your organization is located in. And you might not know this. So we're going to have right here this look it up button. And if you click this link, you can put the address of your organization in, and it'll tell you which district number you're in. So you can just go back in and type it in for us. And then here we're going to ask if you have any specific locations already set up where your grant activities are going to be happening. So say the building your organization is located in, or a local library. We want the exact address of those locations here. Okay, and then this section is where we're going to get into what you probably were expecting, the project narrative and the larger opportunity to tell us what's going on in your project. You'll get 3,500 characters for each of these questions, which you don't have to use all of them, but we give you the opportunity to use more words here. The first question is going to be the description of your funding request. So what exactly this project is, and what humanities project your organization is putting together. Then we're going to ask about the statement of need or opportunity. So what need is this filling, and why is it important right now? Why is it pressing in your community? And then we've got the project outcomes. You can list up to 4 here. This can be, we want to reach 100 students, or we want to print 500 copies of this pamphlet. It can be any kind of measurable goal that's coming out of this project and what we're funding here. And we ask for up to 4, but if you have 2, 3, that's fine as well. And then this last section here is about measuring success. So what would a successful project look like? Again, if your goal is to reach 100 students, maybe that's the success factor there. All right, in section 5, we're going to ask you to list project personnel. So one of the things with Virginia Humanities grants is that we require you to have a humanities scholar on your project. So this can be a typical university professor, is what people typically think of, someone who works in the humanities academic world. But our definition is broad, so you can also include community historians, tradition bearers, anyone who has knowledge and expertise that will apply to your project can qualify for this. So we'll just ask for their name, their title, specific roles that they'll be playing, and then what qualifies them. So maybe it's a professorship or 30 years of storytelling experience. One of these things can work here. Then in section 6, we're going to ask for partnering organizations, so any organizations you're working with as well. Here we're asking for project promotion materials, so we plan to send emails out and get an ad on the radio. You can click as many of these as you would like. And then your expected audience here, we're just asking for a general guess to who's going to be coming to your events. So say you're only going to have an in-person event, you're just going to click in-person audience, and you expect to have maybe 100 people there, so between 50 and 250 people. And this will prompt you on if you click any of these. So say I have an in-person event and I also have a virtual event, and click that too. And maybe I'm expecting 20 people to come in and Zoom. So I'll click the 2150 there. All right, this is the section we typically get the most questions in, the budget section. We have detailed instructions linked here. So if you get into the application and come into questions, you can click this button, but I'll run through the form itself right here. We give you this chart to fill out, and we're going to ask you to list the expense categories, calculate your expense, and then give us the exact number you're requesting for this line. So say I'm going to have John come in and speak to my group. I'm going to put John honoraria here. That's what I'm requesting for. Let's say he charges $50 an hour and he's going to speak for 3 hours. I'm going to request $150 for John to speak. And then maybe it costs, oh, can't put the dollar sign in there. That's good for y'all to know. And then I'm going to request, say, $500 for renting the event venue. Then this line will automatically calculate for me at the bottom. So once I click out, it's going to tell me I'm requesting $650 here. And so you all can fill out all of these lines. We've got a lot of them here for you, but if you do run into a problem and you have more information this chart can fill out, we have a section following it where you can upload an additional form. So you can add more information in this text box, or you can upload a file. If you have an Excel file with 100 lines of data you want us to see, you can upload that there. And then we're interested in knowing how this budget fits into your larger project budget. So say you're applying for a $5,000 grant, but the entire project is going to cost $20,000 to put on. We want to know that here. And then whether or not you're seeking funds elsewhere, click yes or no for us. And then this is the section earlier that I copied over from that candid profile. So if your organization has one of those, that information will pop up here. But if you don't, you can just type this in and change it right there. Right, and this final material section is supplemental. So this is totally optional, but if you have more things that you want the grant reviewers to see, you can click this here. So maybe you want to link to your website, or if you're applying to update a pamphlet, you can upload the old pamphlet here to show us what it used to look like, and maybe a second document showing us a proposed new pamphlet. Anything that doesn't fit in the rest of the application is what you can put into these two spots. Like I said, you can insert text or you can upload a file. And then in this very last section, we're going to ask for the names and contact information of 2 people. One person's the project director, so it's the person running the grant project. We're going to ask their name, address, phone number, email address. And then we're also going to ask for a fiscal officer, so the person who's running the grant and working with the money side of things. Same thing, their name, address, phone number, email address. And then at the bottom, we're going to have you each sign it. So project director, you'll fill your name in out here. And then for the fiscal officer or the second person, you'll use that feature that I showed you at the top of the application. So if you go back up to the top, you're going to see this collaborate button. And I could put the email in of my fiscal officer and give them access to edit, or even edit it and submit, and then invite them to be able to sign that last line there. Now I'm going to scroll back to the bottom so y'all can see. Once I'm done, I can hit submit application, but if I'm not done, I can just hit this save application here. And I still have lots to work on, obviously, but I'm just going to hit continue. And it'll take me back to the home page. and I'll show you what it'll look like for you to access it again. Or maybe not. There we go. I'm gonna hit home. And you'll see now it's living in that yellow column. So these are the applications that I have open. And this is one that I can keep working on, but it's due on the 30th. And once I submit, it'll move over to the green column. All right, so that's the grant application. It's a lot of information to see, and I'm sure some of y'all still haven't gone into the application yet. So as you're moving through, we'll run into more questions. Does anyone have any questions about the grant portal while we're still talking about it?
I might have
Cool.
just one quick question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I may have two, but the section that says organization is located, there may be instances where organizations are not actually physically located in those counties, but might be applying for projects that are relevant to those counties. So I know, Bristol crosses state lines, for instance, things like that. So is there a space for other in there? I couldn't see in the application.
Yes, there is. There's a section in the geographic area called like project activity, where the project activities are taking place. So there should be a space to fill that out in the application. Yeah, and I do know we did receive a question ahead of time, which was about cost share. And these grants do not require cost share. Right now, the only grants that we offer that do have that requirement, two of them. One are our regular grants, which are the larger awards up to $20,000. And then the VA 250 commission grants that we are managing, those do require a cost share as well, but these do not. However, I will state, while there is no cost share, if this is just part of a larger project and you do, like Katie said, you're applying for 5,000 but your project's much larger than that, you put that total project number in there. That's really helpful to reviewers to kind of give them a sense of, how much support are you looking for from this specific grant opportunity. And if you don't have access to financial information for your organization, we might be able to help you out with that. We have some tools and access to GuideStar and Candid profiles. And if not, then we might work directly with your fiscal officer. And again, in terms of that financial information for your organization, reported income and expense, those numbers are used primarily just for our own reporting purposes, back to our funders and the National Endowment for the Humanities in terms of the types of organizations that we are serving. That's not factored into the evaluation of the grants themselves. And I will also point out a couple of more resources on our website at virginiahumanities.org. We do have a whole section dedicated to grants programming. On there, we have a link to past projects that we funded. So if you want to get a sense of the types of organizations or types of projects that have been successful, you can go through that list. As well as in our FAQ section, we have some example applications. And while this is a unique grant opportunity and a unique application, it is very similar to the RAPID grant that we have been running for a few cycles now. And there's at least one example of an application in there that we're using with permission from the grantee organization. That will kind of give you a sense of, how others have answered questions and the types of responses that have been given. So feel free to use those resources. Right, and Katie just put a couple of those links into the chat. Are there any other questions that we could take or answer live here? Is there a way for someone to review my application and give feedback? And that's a great question. We do try to make ourselves available best we can to help provide some, feedback and guidance on applications. Of course, the earlier we can get access to that, the better, to give us time to, do a review. And that's something that you can, reach out to our grants team, Katie, myself, and Ginny, and the three of us can work together to go through that and provide feedback best we can. I will point out, however, in terms of the official grant review, it is going to be conducted by a committee of advisors specific to this grant program. And so Katie, Ginny, and I will act as support for you, but ultimately we will not be making the final decisions on the funding for this cycle. You've already submitted it. Doesn't make a difference. I would say just reach out to us directly after this, and we can go over that with you.
Right, and I just dropped my email and my phone number into the chat if anyone runs into any questions as they're walking through the process, run into issues logging into the portal, whatever it is, feel free to reach out to me. So I know this might be your first time looking at these applications. So you might not have questions yet, but they will come.
All right. Anything else, Ginny, that you wanted to cover before we say goodbye to everyone today?
No, Adam, I don't want to misspeak, but did you say something about if they are currently receiving funds for the 250th that they can still apply for this?
Great. Thank you for bringing that up. So one of the conditions is, so generally with Virginia Humanities grants, you cannot apply with an open grant. You can't apply for more funding before that original grant is closed out. The one exception that we do have is with our Virginia 250 grant program. If any of you have an application that you're working on or an awarded grant through the VA 250 grant program, or are planning to apply in the next cycle, you can do that and still apply to the UVA at WISE grants through Virginia Humanities. The VA 250 funding is coming from the commission, and it's a separate pool of funds. So that is going to be the one exception. So we do encourage you to take a look at the VA 250 grants as well as a way to, enhance your programming. You have a different project you're working on, but you can do both. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, and I will say that those are the VA 250 grant application is going to open up the first week of March and then be due in mid-May, I believe. So you can find all that information on our website as well. All right, well, I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us today to walk through this grant program and help us launch this new initiative, which we are very excited about here. And if you have any other questions, do feel free to reach out to us and we'll get them answered for you. All right, thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.